Every time freight crosses a border, there is a decision being made about classification, compliance, and risk. Get it right, your goods move. Get it wrong, your freight gets held, your client gets fined, and your relationship takes a hit. And today's guest has spent his career in the part of logistics most brokers hand off and hope for the best, and he is here to fix that. Welcome back to your Bestie in Freight. I'm your host, Lida, as always, and where we bring the conversations that actually move the needle. And today my bestie is Andrew Alexander, VP of Strategic Partnership and Lead Sales Executive at Grupo Alexander, a 30-year international logistics powerhouse. Andrew is also a licensed U.S. customs broker, seller code NYV, with deep experience in non-ferrous metals, global commodity trade, and helping banks, recycling companies, manufacturers, and commodities traders move goods across borders the right way. Andrew, welcome to the show. Thank you so much, and I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Lida. I appreciate you seeing the value in the work that I do.
Thank you, Andrew. So let's start with something most freight brokers don't think about enough, which is customs. When a broker hands off a load at the border, what actually happening on the other side that they are not seeing?
Right. I think that there's a lot of important things that people don't see go into play. And I think let's start with first the country of export, all of the compliance that has to occur either in Mexico or in Canada, right? I would say that that's the first step. So even though I'm a US broker, I have to have a very deep understanding of what happens in other countries, right? And this goes beyond North America, but I'm going to start with North America because that's really the bulk of what we do. So there's different things that have to happen in Mexico and in Canada. And I think the first step is building the right relationships with other compliance professionals in Mexico and Canada. And that's something that we started doing 2 years ago, working with the same group of people that we trust to create that first step. And that's the export documentation, right? That is the first step to the cross-border process. The second step is the US portion, right? And that's where we come in and we make sure that the Mexican broker, customs broker, or the Canadian party that's exporting, that they've classified the goods correctly, that they have all of the unit information, right? So the trailer number, the driver information, the supplier information correct, and that they've done their part, paying the export taxes, and then we come in and we make sure that our documentation is compliant to enter the US, but also that it, if there's any questions, that it really aligns with what they did. And I think that that is the most compliant and seamless way to move freight across the border, is having those relationships with the other countries.
Yes, that's amazing. So which countries you are working with currently?
I would say the bulk of my work is with Mexico. And that Mexico has had so many changes in the last year. And it's been very, very interesting for us to keep up with them. And we've had a lot of changes too. So it's been a great learning time. I wouldn't say it was the easiest time to start your career as a customs broker, maybe in the last year or so, or to get a lot of volume. But it's been a learning curve that's really made us resilient and adaptable to change. And that I think some of the best freight brokers and customs brokers, we have to be ready for change at any time, any place.
Andrew, so tell me, how did you end up being a customs broker? I would love to hear your story, how you became, got into logistics.
Right, right. My family has been in the business for over 30 years. So I grew up in a household of freight and also logistics brokering. And it's funny, when I was listening and reading about your story, you were kind of thrust into this world and you were seeing all of these different things and how can I help and how can I contribute or what can I do to add this extra step. And I in 2020 I joined the family business, and I was a broker, basically helping a lot of our customers move freight from Mexico cross border into different places in the US. And one thing that we saw that was missing was this compliance component. Because, as you said, when you outsource it to another party that might not be involved in your supply chain, they might not know your customers very well, they might not know who's receiving the commodity at the end of the day. We thought, the last piece that we're missing is this compliance piece. And if we can get it, we think that we'll have a more seamless and transparent chain for our customers. So I took the customs broker license test in 2022. I passed it, and that's when I got my license, and that's when we added the service to the business.
Fantastic. So how do you like it? Was it a difficult transition?
It was difficult, but I liked it because I feel like it was the last piece that we needed to make the cross-border piece more understandable to our customers, and also to the suppliers in Mexico. We were educating them on a lot of different things that they needed to enter the US market or in Canada. And I thought that that's been the most exciting part, is really helping people enter the market by being compliant with their imports, and also the consumers as well.
Love it. So that's kind of my question. What is the most costly customs mistake you see importers and exporters making over and over?
I think that during this last year, that is a loaded question, Lida. It could be anything from not reading the updates in the regulations. So, as you know, the current administration has really created a lot of different scenarios for us to tackle and for us to analyze. We've had to analyze them very quickly. Supply chains can change overnight. For example, the aluminum executive order that was issued, that was a very, very big one for a lot of the supply chains that we work with. So that was interesting. We had to adapt. I think the analyzation and the practical application is one. I think the second part is classification of the goods. So if your customs broker classifies something incorrectly and you have a high volume of that shipment coming in, it can really have an effect later on, because customs will come in and either charge you the duty that you didn't pay because of a misclassification, and that can really hold up and make a bottleneck in the supply chain, and that's what you don't want. So it really starts at the origin.
Yes. So Incoterms are one of those things that everyone references and half the industry doesn't fully understand. Can you please break down the ones that matter most and where you see the biggest misunderstanding?
Yes. I think Incoterms are super important. I think that everyone in the supply chain, whether you're a freight broker, whether you're a customs broker, a distributor, or a warehouse, you should take time to educate yourself on Incoterms, because they have everything to do with the really where the chain starts, right? So X Works is one that we work with a lot, and that's when a supplier prepares whatever commodity that they plan to move, and then you come in with the truck. You basically handle it from there, right? The material gets sold, you load it, and then the rest is history, right? So that's one that I deal with a lot, because we have the capability to do everything from the seller's point. DAP is another one that we see a lot, and that's one where the seller takes kind of control of the supply chain and delivers it into the U.S. This is over the road mostly that I'm talking about here, and then there's cost insurance freight. There's FCA. There's free on board. On all of these have different parts that the supply chain professionals need to know where to step in and what partners to work with on each level of service.
About Grupo Alexander. You guys have been in business for 30 years, right? And who do you serve? What makes your operation unique? And how does the non-ferrous metals focus set you apart?
So Grupo Alexander is a family-owned company. It started out, we started out with 10,000 square feet of warehousing space for non-ferrous metals. Scrap primarily. And then we grew into a logistics service provider as well because we saw that a lot of our customers needed. This is a very specialized handling of material. And I'm sure, as you know, in your career, the brokers and the logistics professionals have to have that special knowledge. And sometimes you have to specialize in an area to really help a customer and to really have their supply chain keep moving. And then the compliance and the forwarding aspect are brand new, and that's something that I've helped integrate into the companies. So we're still family owned. We now have 400,000 square feet of warehousing space in Laredo. And we also are a free trade zone and we receive rail cars as well. And we have an operation that's dedicated to primary metals as well. So that's a whole different, unique handling of material and also different business. So started with non-ferrous scrap. And then we kind of diversified, but we are 100% metal distribution full service business.
So metals, copper, aluminum, zinc, right? These are
Yes,
all high value.
right.
What does it actually take to move them globally for banks, traders, and recycling companies? What does that supply chain look like?
It can be anything from people who cast metals. It can be people who actually process recycled goods. One of the biggest commodities that we handle are used beverage cans. So those are actually collected and processed by people, and quality control is a huge part of that business. So since we have so many years of delivering them to the same consumers, we know what the requirements are and what good material looks like. So that's another kind of value that we add to the chain. Insurance is huge, as you know. In Mexico, the cargo, so the merchandise is not insured. That's something that we have to help a lot of people understand. And it's a big obstacle for a lot of people. Some people take the risk, but we are there to educate them that it is a huge risk.
So you have described culturalism, right? And
Yes.
adaptability as core to how you operate. How does that translate into actual business advantage in international logistics, especially doing business with Latino America part?
Right, right. I think I grew up in a bicultural household. I speak English and Spanish. Our entire team is bilingual. And as you know, we have an understanding because we come from different cultures. And so that understanding and adaptability helps us translate some business nuances that people might not understand. There's a lot of people who started doing business in the Mexican market and they weren't so familiar with some things that might seem off to them or might seem strange, but we're there to help them translate those things and to build the trust between the parties. And it's really a rewarding thing when you get to see that trust built, even though they might not speak the same language. We kind of exist in the middle to help connect both countries, really, and the world as much as we can.
Yes, I love it. So, for freight brokers or importers listening right now who has been treating customers as a afterthought, what is the single most important thing they should review or fix this week?
I think understand your lanes, understand listen to your broker. If there's low availability in the market, understand why, and understand that what you're paying for with your broker, there's a lot of bad actors, as you know, in our industry. And it's, I think, first response for people to kind of jump back whenever there's an increase or people think, oh, that price seems ridiculous. But a good freight broker who's on the ground and are moving this, working with the same lanes often, they'll have that intel. And so I think really listening to them and then making a decision and not just going based off of numbers that you see on the internet, right? Because as you and I know, those numbers could be based off of people that have no relationship to the chains that we're working with, right? So I think listening to them and trusting them. And if you have that trust, then you'll be able to make the right decision at the end of the day.
What the company having challenges nowadays?
I would say that everyone is having challenges nowadays. I think that if you're the biggest consumer of non-ferrous metals in North America, you're having challenges because so many things have happened in the world of compliance, but also in the world of freight. Look at in the last month what has happened, to the market, and now diesel prices and things like that. So they're having to understand, you're having to educate them, and then us as logistics professionals, we have to listen to our fleets, right? We have to listen to the drivers that we're working with. What are they seeing on the ground? And I think that that's something, Lida, that women in this business, they're some of the best people that I've worked with because they're so understanding, and being able to talk to a driver on the ground, uh it and translating that is a huge thing. So I think not a specific company, I think the industry in general is having challenges, and it's up to people like us to listen to every aspect of the supply chain. There's no hierarchy here. It's really flat because a huge consumer might find the most valuable insight from a trucker on the ground, and that could change their mind overnight and really have success. So I think that's the best part of what we're doing right now.
Thank you so much for mentioning. I have been a truck driver myself 10 years ago, so I can definitely resonate. And speaking of truck drivers, owner operators, and carrier companies, I would love to mention my sponsor, Digital Permit Book. It is the smarter way to manage your tracking compliance. No more paperwork, chasing permits, no more last minute scrambles. Digital Permit Book keeps your fleet organized, your drivers moving, and your operation protected. Check them out and tell them your Bestie in Freight sent you. It is digitalpermitsbook.com. And Andrew, I want to ask you some rapid fire questions, no overthinking. Are you ready?
Ready.
Get customs right first or move fast and fix it later?
Get customs right first.
So, delivered, duty paid, DDP, or EXW?
I would say DDP.
Relationship with your customs broker or lowest brokerage fee?
Relationship with your customs broker, 100%.
Tariff engineering strategy or just pay the duty? What is the right call for small to mid operators?
I would say look at the strategy. You can find one sometimes.
Okay. Non-Ferrous metals or customer goods? Which is harder to move cross-border?
Um, I would say, non-ferrous. That's why we're there.
Yes, I agree. Andrew, thank you so much. This was one of the episodes that's going to save people real money and learn more about brokers. So you broke down customs in a way that actually makes sense and gave everyone a framework to stop treating it like an afterthought, right? And if you want to connect with Andrew and Group Alexander team, I will put the links under the show. Reach him at Andrew at groupalexander.com. And if this episode delivered value, please subscribe, share with someone who might also benefit it, and I will see you on the next one. And Andrew, thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Lida. I appreciate it. It was great to finally speak with you.
Thanks.